To the Spurs back off the Jeremy Sochan fan train.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hopefully everybody's having a great work week. Just a few more days, there'll be some Spurs action. For those of y'all who are just waiting for the draft lottery and the offseason to begin, it's almost there. Just a little over 20 games, and the season will be over. Hang in there. But what are we talking about today? We're going to be looking at Malachi Branham once again, just to kind of figure out what's gotten into him the last few days right before the All-Star break. Is it just simply a byproduct of getting minutes, or is there something bigger there? Perhaps the Spurs found themselves a gem late in the first round. Also, Pop lit into the team right before the All-Star break. Too little, too late, and should Spurs fans back off and just pump the brakes a bit on the Jeremy Sochan fan train. By the way, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. As always, we are free and available wherever you get podcasts. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Check out FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Make every moment more by visiting FanDuel.com/LockedOn today. Who is our guest today? I feel like this is like long overdue because we've had everybody from the San Antonio Sports Star. I mean, at this point, it's practically the secretary's been on, perhaps the FedEx delivery guy's been on, but finally, Rob Thompson. Yes, Rob Thompson. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN. He is the program director of the San Antonio Sports Star, co-host of R&R In The Morning. Rob, it feels like this is long overdue.
Jeff, I felt like I had to send you a letter and tell you I do, in fact, exist. I would love to sit down and talk with you guys. I've been jealous listening to you guys for so long. But, again, thanks for having me on, Jeff. It's always a pleasure.
Your son is the one that actually cued me in. Jack came on a couple of weeks ago, and then after we were done, he says, "Hey, Jeff, my dad would like to come on, right?" And I thought he was just pulling my chain. I was like, okay, sure. Mr. Busy Guy, he has to run the station, program, all that good stuff. I'm not going to bother him. He's like, "No, I'm being serious. He wants to come on." I said, okay, so here we go. So
it's my honor. I've been jealous having all those guys on. You guys do great work, so I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. I mean, and kudos to your guys too. I mean, they're always willing to come on, and from Jimenez to your son, everybody else in between, Medina, everybody, they all hop on and promote the brand as well as talk some Spurs right here on Locked On Spurs. But as mentioned, you are a busy man, so let's not take up too much of your time. Let's go and dive into this. So, Rob, Malachi Branham, great close to the first half right before the All-Star break, double-figure scoring, double-figure averages for this month. What do you think has gotten into him? Is this simply a byproduct of getting the NBA minutes, not being stashed in the G League, or just the Spurs finding themselves a gem late in the first round?
I think it's a little bit of both, certainly, Jeff. I think getting the minutes always helps. And also, getting the Austin time while everybody complains about their guys not being in front of them in San Antonio, they're getting valuable minutes and a lot of reps there. I also think it's a product of the time of the year that, there are teams that know where they're going, and there are teams that are, still, if they don't know who they are now, they're not headed to the playoffs. So I don't think the matchups are quite the same. I think he's gotten some room with Devin being gone, a little bit more room to work. And I think Pop's working on trying to find another point guard. How many point guards are on this roster right now? And he's going to step forward. We've got three little ones. Malachi's playing well. I think they've got something. I'm not ready to go all the way in on it, but he's playing like the first-round draft pick that we thought we had, but maybe a little bit earlier than we expected. I'm happy, but I'm not sold yet.
Future. So without saying it, but he's saying it, that the season is pretty much over. But
I think
not a yeah. I mean, but you look at this too, Rob. He started his NBA career out in Las Vegas Summer League and was kind of shaky. I was a little nervous. I thought that maybe this guy's going to be a work in progress, but you're seeing those minutes come up and also the production come up. Do you think, if you could project it, you can look into your crystal ball, do you think he could be perhaps that missing guard that they thought Lonnie would be, that guard that can be what today's NBA is, and it's all about scoring and putting the ball in the basket?
It's interesting because when you think about what Pop has always wanted in the past, and you look at the success of Parker being a lead guard who scored as much as he could in the paint, but really wasn't asked to do much more. I don't know where Pop's going and what the plan is. I think it fits the modern mold. I'm just not sure Pop's all the way bought in on the modern mold. I don't know how to describe which way he's going. I do appreciate the offense that he brings, but especially with a team that's offensively challenged, or at least shooting challenged like the Spurs are. But I'm not sure if he's still not looking for an organizing point guard first. I just a guy that'll score in the paint but will find his other guys. And I think that's why there's been that search. I do know that he is the modern guard. And I do know that he showed some toughness all the way back to when he was in college and in high school. I watched him play. I think he's got all of that. I just don't know what Pop's searching for.
Yeah, and we're talking about just opportunity and situations, and of course, the moment in time in Spurs history of them being just in rebuild mode and rebuild. You got also one of this too, and I hate to bring up his name, but do you think he gets this burn if Primo's still on the roster?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's what I thought so too.
I can't imagine that there would have been these kind of minutes available to him right now. I think he would be. It's not that he wouldn't have progressed and be as good as he is now. We probably just wouldn't be seeing it as much because it'd be going on in Austin or maybe once or twice a month in San Antonio. So without hesitation, yes, the loss of Primo, which on its own is going to be so devastating for years, has opened the door for a couple of others, and I think even Wesley has benefited from those extra minutes.
I don't want to get off too sidetracked too much, but what do you think Primo would be right now if none of that crap happened?
He'd be started.
You think so?
Oh,
double figure score?
You know what? It was certainly in him. I certainly think he was capable of it. I have no reason to think he wouldn't have been there. His basketball progress wasn't bad. He was progressing about on schedule. It was everything else that kind of got in the way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened, but nevertheless, Branham is definitely taking advantage of those minutes. And the silver lining that the Vassell injury, again, Branham is taking in minutes. But I like the kid.
Now, Jeff, I want to ask you, Jeff, seriously.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think, when you look at the future, and when I look 3 years from now, I'm comfortable with saying Devin Vassell's going to be here, Keldon's going to be here. Bassey's got a deal that'll keep him around cap friendly for a while, and I start thinking, who's going to be here? I think that Malachi's going to be here. I do. I think he's going to be one of those guys on this roster that's going to play a role. What about you?
I think he's going to be here too. But I also think, considering how aggressive this team has been with trading players, I also wouldn't be surprised if he's flipped too. I just think this is just uncharted territory in recent years for the San Antonio Spurs. You fast forward in the future, let's just say there's a deal on the table and the Spurs got a bite on it. And if Malachi has to make the numbers fit, I wouldn't be surprised if they flipped. I think he would have to have some incredible leap for them to really secure this team. Because as of right now, Rob, I still think there's not one player that's untouchable. That even includes KJ.
I'm with you there. Without moves, and I do think he is a valuable asset, whether on somebody else's team or ours, that I think he's proven to us that he is an NBA guard.
He is Rob Thompson, the program director at San Antonio Sports Star and co-host of R&R In The Morning. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson, ESPN. This is the long overdue episode with Rob. So, and by the way, he'll brag about R&R In The Morning and the rest of the shows at the Star later on this show. He'll get his time to brag about him dominating the radio landscape in the sports radio landscape in San Antonio. We're talking about Malachi Branham. Just a few more seconds here. In the last 20 games, I expect some of the same progress, upward tick. He doesn't seem to be. He's kind of flipping the script on this whole rookie wall because about right now they should be smacking into it, but he's definitely not doing that at all, Rob.
Well, I think that there's the constraints of trying to win. There's the constraints of trying to get yourself better, and sometimes getting yourself better doesn't help you win games. You have to do some things in game to practice to get the reps. And I think that, last 20 games, I think that they're allowed to do a little bit more and allowed to make a few more mistakes, although we'll talk a little bit about where Pop's head might be as we close this season down. But I do think that the rests and he's a rookie. We judge the NBA a very different light now. 10 years ago, we'd be talking about rookies getting tired because they'd played a lot. But Malachi hadn't. I think that he's the rookie wall thing's kind of gone away with load management and going back and forth. But at the same time, I think it's a little bit freer to play right now because he's not constrained with playing things like defense.
Right.
The little things that allow him to kind of get himself in that offensive flow that I do think have helped. There is some benefits to not just chasing the W, but chasing some improvement. And he's been a great beneficiary of that.
Absolutely. He is averaging 19.1 points per game through 45 games played for San Antonio, 12 starts as well, shooting 31% from the three line. I can see that up just a little bit more to close out the season. And, of course, shooting 45% from the field. But so far, so good for Malachi. But when we get back.
Jeff, before you go on, 45% from the floor, 45% from the floor. For the shots that he's taken, he's not taking Tony Parker paint shots. I mean, he's got a nice little mid-range game with hands in his face. He is an offensive guy. He really does have a mentality to be a really great lead guard.
Can you imagine if DeMar was still here and he took Malachi under his wing?
Exactly.
Awesome.
I mean, you can see that potential there. So and you can also tell Pop has a type. You saw that DeMar in him when he drafted him.
Absolutely. But when we get back, we're going to continue our chat with Rob Thompson. Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN. We're going to be talking about Popovich and if it's too late to light the fires under his team and much, much more right here on Locked On Spurs. But before we do that, I want to talk to you about FanDuel. Look, it's the midway point of the NBA season. It's right here, right now, and so it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. You just got to download that FanDuel Sports app right now. It's safe, secure, super easy to use. And look, you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores to threes drained. You can even build your favorite NBA bets for the week. So, for example, you think somebody's going to knock down 2 3-pointers in the first 3 minutes. Well, you can make that kind of bet over at FanDuel. And plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance for a bigger payout with same-game parlay. So don't miss your shot at your chance at getting that no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Right here on Locked On Spurs with Rob Thompson, the program director over at San Antonio Sports Star. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN. He's also the co-host of R&R In The Morning. He'll talk to you about that and much more. When you can listen, how you can listen, when you can tune in, and much, much more. And I feel like also just got to give you just a blanket apology, Rob, for not inviting you. I'm sorry. I feel bad now. I feel terrible. Why shouldn't I have? Yeah.
I'm certainly glad you're working with all our guys. I'm just glad to finally be working with the great Jeff Garcia. It's been a couple years since I've actually sat down and done some real work with you.
But here's the thing, Rob. Now you open up the can of worms because now you're going to get that text every once in a while with frequency like, Rob, can you come on tomorrow? Rob, can you come on tomorrow?
I'm honored. So please call me. I'm honored.
That's what I always do. Hey, well, let's talk about Popovich. So, look, the season's all but over. It's done. We hit it on it in the first segment, saying like, they know what it is. It's just a development season. They're just evaluating talent for the long term. But right before the All-Star break, Pop pops off and talks about how this team needs to win, and they're going to win. They better play defense, and that they suck. And he took the blame. He wants them to think about that. I mean, Rob, don't you think it's a little too late for that kind of pep rally speech?
Who was he talking to? You think he was talking to us or his team?
His team, absolutely.
I think he was talking. The great concern when you go through this, I look at what the Houston Rockets have gone through. The bad habits that you pick up while you're in the business of not winning games that are hard to break, and you can just see it. Defensively, they get lax because they know while every player wants to win, they know the situation that they're in. And I think he's kind of reminding them that you still got to go play. But at the same time, I think that speech was more for us than it was for his guys. I think it was more about just telling his guys, telling the fans, like, look, assignment was understood. We are now one of the bottom 3 teams, and we're where we were supposed to be. But there are habits that we're picking up that I'm working on. Don't think that we don't know where we're at. Because if you look at what he did the last time they tanked, this was the same situation. I mean,
Absolutely.
I was covering the Spurs way back when, and we were 20 games out, and David Robinson looked like he probably could have been playing, and he had enough reasons, but he was yelling at his guys because they weren't playing defense, and it just felt like that was not going to be the way to go. So I think that he's upset. I think it's the little things, probably with Keldon more than anybody else, about defensive structure and some of his other guys not being around. But really, if he waited till 20 games out to yell at his guys in a presser on a Tuesday night and wherever the hell they were, I think that's a little late. You know what I mean? I think that I think he understands where he is. I think he wants us to understand where they are, and he just doesn't want them to hold on to those, it's not that big a deal to lose kind of mentality that I know starts to creep in when you get into March and April.
I mean, look, who am I to question a soon-to-be basketball Hall of Famer coach? But you when I heard him say that, I was like, really, Pop? Like, now you want to do this? Like, what's the point? And then I started thinking about this. I go, like, well, there is a point. Sure, the season is a wash. It's over. It's all but done. Rob, I've been telling everybody on Locked On Spurs, just think of this season as an extended training camp. That's all it really is. It's nothing more and nothing less. That's all it is. But part of training camp is learning, these lessons to be learned. So, like a parent, it felt like he was, to me. I know you're saying that he addressed it to the media, but to me, I took it as a message to his team that he's like a parent being like, you guys sit in your corner in the next few days and think about what you did. That's what it felt like, Rob.
No, I understand. There are lessons that you get ingrained that as an NBA player that you want to always have it filed away. And I think Pop, his method for developing young players, we complain about it. We don't like it, but there's a process to it. And you learn certain values and certain understandings that the way things are when you're winning. And it's hard to inculcate that into a losing team. So every now and then I think he has to kind of jump them and go, there's a goal here. And this was really just kind of a glorified practice. And as long as we can leave today saying we're a little bit better, even if we didn't get the W, I can say you did this better. We're all right. And there's still some nights, I think, when they just lose and they lose. Guys don't show. And I think he kind of jumped them a little bit about being ready, especially now. You brought it up earlier, that rookie wall. I think there's some of that too, when you can see the finish line. You've accomplished your mission. We're terrible, and we're going to get the draft pick, and we're all there. And suddenly these rookies like Malachi are getting some minutes and contributing in meaningful ways. But don't get sloppy. Even though our goal is still to lose, we need you to defend and play those ways. And I think that was more of a reminder to us that he knows what they're doing, and also a little bit to those guys that, we're not done yet. Don't pick up those bad habits, because certainly that wasn't about tighten up and let's win some more games. I didn't take that away from that speech. That was more about you got to play like a professional and show up like a professional NBA player every night.
Yeah, two things that you said right now. One, you're absolutely right. You said the key word habit, and that has been Popovich's one of his common thread words he uses throughout the season has been, we don't want them to pick up habits. They haven't learned the habits. We got to establish habits. And he says that a lot. And he's always been saying, for the most part this season, absolutely right. I think the worst habit they're getting right now is playing lax defense. And of course, Popovich is all about defense. And so there we go. Second thing, inculcate. I had to look that up when you're talking. You say you bring those big $1 million words to Locked On Spurs. See, that's what we've been missing without having you right here with us on Locked On Spurs. He is Rob Thompson. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN, and he is co-host of R&R in the Morning. Just a few more thoughts about Popovich, and we'll take a little break and wrap it up here. He said, "Yeah, they're young, yeah." He goes like that, and you got to worry about the sensitivities and stuff like that. Do you miss old school Pop sometimes? That Pop,
Very
that Tony
much.
Parker kind of rip into you and you break you down and you're going to be a better player. There's sometimes I think he needs to be that with this team.
I think he's walking a fine line that a lot of guys of our age are walking, because we're trying to a coach like that, trying to figure out this modern athlete and trying to find where exactly you can go and how far you can push and the buttons you can deal with. And I don't think Pop can coach the way that he used to. I think there's players that he can individually kind of, shape and mold. And I think he's trying to do that with Keldon and to some extent with Devin when he's around. But I don't think he can coach that way. And I'm not sure we're going to see it that old Pop
Yeah.
that we saw 10 years ago. One, because he's just older, kinder, and gentler. And another, I don't think the athlete reacts the same way that Parker and Manu and all those guys that could get coached hard. And I think he's purposely kind of stepped back. And then you add on the losing. So, you know, if you can yell at somebody and get them to improve and wake up tomorrow and go play a game and go win and show the proof of, look, I told you this is how you need to do it. You did it and we won. Well, you don't get that immediate return when you're dealing with these young guys. Go do it this right way. And you walk off and you did it right, but you still lost. And it still felt awful. It's hard to kind of get those in. So I think Pop's had to be more of a cheerleader than he ever has. And I'm not sure he's ever going to be that guy that we grew to love in like 07 when he was just whipping those guys. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. We're going to push. I don't think he can do that anymore.
Yeah, and then you mentioned the modern NBA athlete, and just look at the example over there in Atlanta with Trae Young. Now granted, he's a superstar, he's a different level, and the Spurs don't have that. But let's just say Pop is still around, and a megastar comes to San Antonio, and he's that way. Could that situation arise down the road?
I think, to Pop's credit, I think he's addressing that. I think he really is doing his best to find a way to connect with the younger guys in ways that he's not accustomed to other than, we know he's great about leaving the carrot cake at the door and telling you I love you and kind of stuff. But there's those daily things with the younger generation that a lot of us older guys, we're still kind of getting used to. And I think he's trying to do his best to kind of monitor that and make sure, you're losing and then your coach is on you all the time. It makes for a pretty miserable life.
Well, we're going to get off this topic right now because I'm reminiscing about the old days and thinking about how old I've gotten already. Gray hair popping out left and right, Rob. It's bad. Somebody asked me, how every time I run into somebody in San Antonio, they go, how you doing? Well, I go, I'm getting older, fatter, and grayer. How's that? That's what I'm doing.
At least you're getting older. There's a positive to that statement.
He is Rob Thompson. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN, co-host of R&R in the Morning. When we get back, we're going to ask if the Spurs fans should pump the brakes a little bit with Sohan. The Spurs fans are looking at him like the next coming. Is that true? Should we just wait and see? Right here on Locked On Spurs. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rob Thompson, program director of San Antonio Sports Star, co-host of R&R in the Morning. So, Rob, the Spurs had some representation at the NBA All-Star game. Jeremy Sochan, Rising Star Challenge, played pretty good. I think 7 points total. Had a dunk. Good showing. Spurs fans are loving him. The colorful hair, the defense, getting into scraps with Marcus Morris, and just really progressing well. But there's a lot of Spurs fans think that he could be it. He is the next. Do you think you, Spurs fans, should collectively kind of like pump the brakes a little bit and say, you know what, let's just see how he does to close out the season, go in and then see how he is midway through his sophomore season?
Well, my question to you is the next what? I mean, in the next superstar? No, I don't think he is. Is he a very good NBA player? Yes, I think considering where they got him, considering what they knew they were getting and the ceiling that he had, I'm ecstatic. But I never really expected much more than what he's offered. I think you're going to get I think Spurs fans should be very happy, but I don't think that, no, he's not going to be an all-star on a regular basis. Is he the kind of guy that'll be on a championship team for 6 years? Yeah, he's a glue guy. He does everything correct. But if you're looking for a guy to go and lead you in scoring and make that kind of play, it might happen, but even when it does happen, we're years away from that. That's not why he was drafted. He was brought in to do what he's doing, but just get better in those 4 categories that we expect from him every night. He was drafted to rebound, to defend, to edge defense, to break and run. I mean, do the things that he's doing. I think I'm extraordinarily happy with him, but I think I had a different expectation. Is he going to be like Mathurin and these guys that are getting bucked? No, he was never going to be that guy, and I didn't expect him to be. And for him to show what he's shown, I think it's as good a draft pick as the Spurs have made in a long time, but I don't ever expect him to be a perennial all-star. I think he'll be in the mentions a lot and be on a very good team all of his career, but no, I don't I just don't see that. But I can see why you'd expect it, because every now and then, like we saw on Friday night, he does some things you go, you know what? He might be even more than that. And I think that's
Right.
what's so tantalizing.
He's far exceeded my expectations. I did not expect
Yeah.
this type of play out of him. I thought he'd be giving you, your 8 points, your 6 rebounds, a couple blocks, couple steals kind of guy nightly. But for him to be dropping 30 something like he did a few nights ago, being feisty on that court, getting under people's skin, pinching Steven Adams' nipples. I did not expect that at all. But I like his progress. I like where he's going now. Everything throws off course if the Spurs get picked 1 and 2. If they land a Wemby or a Scoot, then Sohan becomes the complementary piece. Not to say he'll ever be the primary piece, because he never was a primary piece. Even at Baylor,
they drafted him for that. Yes, he's the complement. Yeah. He's the perfect complement. The comparisons drive me crazy. Certainly the number 10 and the blonde hair to Dennis Rodman. No, that's awful. I think that there's more Ben Simmons there, but you compare him to Ben Simmons and it becomes a humiliating thing. But it shouldn't be, because Ben was told, we propped Ben up to be more than he ever was. But if you just take away the fear of shooting, which is something else, and just look at what he does on the court, my gosh, there's not an NBA team anywhere that wouldn't want to have a Ben Simmons on the court. But he's not going to take you to a championship alone, but dang it, you can ride him there. I mean, he will help other guys get there. And think of the possibility, if it does work out, we've got a Sohan out there and an offensive dominant guard like Scoot, or a Wemby, who God knows what you're going to do with, how well he will plug into that situation. If it comes to fruition, and they do get a 1 or a 2 like that, and you've already got a guy who is perfectly willing to do everything else on the court, it's an ideal situation. But it does have to come to fruition. They do need to get a guy who's ball dominant, bucket getting, to really exemplify what Sohan's capable of doing for a team.
Yeah, Sohan through 48 games played, 10 points per game, shooting 44% from the field. Everybody knows about the one-handed free throw percentage since and then and before, but as of right now, it's 69% from the free throw line, 5 rebounds a game, 2.5 assists per game. And again, that's in 45 minutes play, averaging about 25 minutes per game. So not bad numbers, again, considering a guy who did not, wasn't even the primary focus, wasn't even the first or secondary option on Baylor. He was off the bench.
He didn't even start, Jeff.
Yeah.
Let's go back to this. Jeff, he didn't even start. And when he did finally start, it was because of attrition, because of injuries. Coach Drew up there, he had everything he needed. I mean, he did exactly what he needed Sohan to do and worked it out right. I think, given the situation, the Spurs drafted a very appropriate player for the long term. I don't think he was ever going to light it up this year. But you just brought it up. He's improved and stayed consistent throughout the season. And he's already passed, or at least one record that Tim and Tony and the young rookies have set. So I'm ecstatic. But I also understand his place on this team, and he was never drafted to be a superstar. He was drafted to be a great teammate on a very, very good team.
Let's make this very clear, everybody, because I know the Sohan fans are going to come at me and Rob. I know that it's coming, Rob. Brace yourself, but we're not bashing the kid. Great player, awesome player. He is far exceeding expectations. I'm giving him so far a solid A-, B+ in his rookie season, because again, far exceeding my expectations. But I think Spurs, some, not all, just some Spurs fans think he could be like the missing piece, that primary piece this team needs in a rebuild, Rob.
No, for those old NBA minds, if you want to look back to guys that I equate him to, think of and certainly not the same game. But when you think of guys like Tayshaun Prince and Hakeem Nicks back in the day, those guys that every team they were on won because they were on the team. They were better for them. They always started. They never demanded anything. But at the end of the game, the boxes were full and there were W's. And if you could get that off of a first-round draft pick in the NBA for 5 years, golden.
Absolutely. He is Rob Thompson. Follow him on Twitter at Rob Thompson ESPN. Rob, I need you to brag about the Star. What's going on at the Star? R&R in the morning. What you got cooking over there?
Well, we're awfully proud of what's been happening over there. Over the last year, we have gone to just about entirely days. We've all local all day long. We run a little bit of Mike Greenberg in the morning. We've got the biggest stick in sports talk radio west of the Mississippi. What that really means is we've got the largest broadcast range of any sports talk radio station west of the Mississippi. So we have coverage that goes most of South Texas. We've got the very best in local sports talk hosts from Rudy J that I sit in with the morning, a San Antonio legend. Afternoons, Mike Jimenez, who is part and parcel of what San Antonio is. We pulled him right off the streets. Yep. He thinks like everybody else does. And then the afternoons, the legend that Jason Minix and Joe Reinagel offers. We offer, I like to think, soup to nuts for every South Texas sports fan. Whatever you love, we love too, and we talk about it every day. We're awfully proud. Make sure you're jumping in there, following us on the socials and on our websites and all the contesting. And we're proud of what we're doing. And if you haven't listened, stop in for a little bit. We think you make a few friends. Yeah, and just real quick, did you mention what time R&R starts in the morning? So certainly. We get going in the morning at 6 a.m. We're live 6 to 10 a.m. to get you to work. We give you Mike Greenberg from noon to 2, then from noon to 3, from 10 to noon. Noon to 3, it's Jimenez and Spence. Mike Jimenez and Tim Spence. Tim's our new sports director that came in from Denver. And then at 3 o'clock, Jason and Joe will take you all the way to 7 o'clock and get you ready for the evenings. We also carry all your Texas Rangers. We're also home to the Texas Aggies. And live NBA that you're catching all the way through the playoffs. And we carry everything that you need to hear live or ready for you on a variety of methods, podcasting and all that. You can come find us at San Antonio Sports Star. We're proud of it. Yeah, exactly. I go to the website and I put on that little that player. And I think the audio vault. Yeah, the audio vault. Yeah, thank you. And just kind of like sit back, relax when I'm at my desk and just listen in and check out what y'all got to say. Tune into my guy, Jimenez, you, everybody. By the way, how do you put the way I like to do it is get your Spurs, get your Locked On every morning. As soon as you're done with Locked On, just pop on over and catch up with your favorite sports star host. How do you put up with Jimenez? I'm just wondering. That guy's a character. Like I said, he is the taste of San Antonio in every way. 3 hours is enough for anybody. So tune in from noon to 3. That's all you'll need. Absolutely. Make sure to follow Rob, though, on Twitter at Rob Thompson, ESPN. Thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Again, free and available wherever you get podcasts. Second listen, check out Locked On Game to Game NBA. Every result, every recap, every freaking thing you can think of when it comes to the NBA. Locked On NBA Game to Game is there for you. Available on Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Just like Locked On Spurs, Odyssey app, YouTube, Ken's 5 Plus app, and many, many more. So for Rob Thompson, who will pretty much open up the can now, I'm going to be texting him daily now or weekly now. Rob, can you come? Rob, can you come? He is Rob Thompson again with R&R in the Morning. I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs. Yeah.